Hello. My name is Chase, for those who don't know. I'm here to talk about smartphones, and I am calling this video the smartphone apocalypse, and it has a very clickbaity thumbnail. It's not going to be that extreme of a video. I am not that intense on the matter. I actually am re-recording this because my first takes just felt pretty manic, because I do have a passion behind this, but I also don't believe in being alarmist about it. I definitely don't want to come across as preachy or soapboxy. But basically this is something that I've kind of become passionate about as I've tried to live a little bit more of a digitally minimalist life, as people call it. So yeah, not super against smartphone concepts. I don't think everyone should have a dumb phone. But without further ado, let's just get into it, because I do have a lot of thoughts to share, and I think it's kind of fun to talk about and exchange ideas about, and I also think it's important to talk about. I do. I will give myself that. So yeah, like I said, I've been trying to live a little bit more digitally minimal. So I definitely went down the limiting my time on social media pipeline, where I went from deleting social media apps to deleting other apps and disabling notifications on my iPhone, and then turning it into a black and white thing. So it's less stimulating and addictive of a screen. And then basically I decided, you know what? I think I'm good with the smartphone thing. I think I'm good with it. And as I started shopping around for different phone alternatives, I realized that Apple has been switching their devices from physical SIM cards to eSIMs, which basically makes it very, very easy for people to move from iPhone to iPhone, but does make it more complicated for a consumer who wants to try out a different model. And I'm not going to get into that. I think that's a little sus. I also just prefer being able to try out different phone models and switching my paid phone plan on this little physical SIM card into the device to try it out. So Apple's been phasing that out. So immediately I was like, okay, I want to go the iPhone SE route. I had one of the newer iPhones that I'm selling to cover the costs of this whole dumb phone experiment. So I used some of that money to buy an iPhone SE. It's one of their only models that has a physical SIM card option, and it's smaller, which is nice. I'm really big about the size of these phones. But anyway, so that was a decision I made, and it was good. But also it started just ringing off bells. And I just feel as consumers, we're kind of left with very little options. And I don't feel the cell phone industry leaves much room for an empowered, autonomous consumer. Take, for instance, Best Buy's website. We pull up the phone list they have. These all look the same. They are all basically the same. And they're also basically the same size, and they're just all the same. And it's kind of hard because you either have to go with a full mini computer that you carry around with you all the time that does have certain features that are addictive. I don't think I was someone who's glued to their phone. I definitely don't think I was someone who's glued to their phone, but nonetheless, I just don't like that it is a little bit addictive. As I started getting off social media, I started getting addicted to news notifications. So then I had to turn those off. And then I would just grab my phone because it's this big light up screen. And at this point, we're all iPad babies. So, you either have to go with that, or you have to go with a really, really dumb phone that honestly, sometimes can be unsafe, and can be very inconvenient, and you can have to compromise a lot of parts of your life, and also you compromise a lot of parts of the people's lives around you, which is just crappy. It's crappy because you're not only beholden to these big phone companies, but you're also beholden to the people in your life who are used to communicating with you in certain ways, whether that's iMessage or FaceTime or whatever. So it's it's been a frustrating experience, if I'm honest. It's been a frustrating experience. It's also been kind of funny because I went into an AT&T store. That guy was kind of a homie, but he was we don't really have any of what you're looking for, but try Best Buy. I go to Best Buy, you guys. This man laughed in my face. And on some level, I get it. I totally get it. And everyone can have their own opinion on smartphones versus dumb phones. But it's I walked in there and I was like, hey, do you guys have anything but smartphones? And he was like, you want to downgrade your phone? And I was like, hey, fuck me, I guess. But basically, yeah, I mean, there is a big part of me that believes that we're all kind of being pinned down as people. Hey, this video is of the people, by the people, for the people, okay? and the people are consuming, and we're kind of forced to consume these smartphones that also like mine our data and sell it to companies to sell us things. And like, yeah, not to get too surveillance capitalism about it, but it's just odd that like we're all forced to conform to this type of phone, and then we're taken advantage of on top of that. But like I said, I'm not really going to get into that because it's kind of it can get to be too much for some people. And the point of this video is to say that like there are more of us outside of like super passionate techie smartphone people, and hipsters who just want to have like potato phones that are glorified long distance walkie-talkies. Like there are people in the middle here. I don't know if I have to start designing my own phone and applying to go on Shark Tank, but I'm pretty close to doing that because I just wish there were more options. And while we're talking about options, let's talk about, well, like some of the options I was looking at. I was looking at something called a Wise phone. It's kind of an introductory phone for like parents to give to their kids that doesn't have a web browser, and it's like a dumb phone, but it's like it's like a 5 to 6 inch screen. It's a whole screen, and it's like, again, something I'm trying to get away from. I do believe that part of the reason why we just grab our phones is because they're big light up screens, and they're big and clunky. Like we feel them on our person all the time, so we're like more inclined to just grab it and look at it. So I'm like looking for smaller phones, right? And then the other one was like a ghost phone because it seemed like a good option, but again, giant screen and also $600. Which also brings me to my other point, because of how extreme like the options are in terms of highest of high techs or lowest of low techs. There's also like a lot of factors that go into this in terms of what people do for work and like other like little privileges that like enable people to make these more off the grid decisions. But that's also why I kind of just think there should be more of a differentiation of products so that everyone can find a device that not only fits their lifestyle, but enhances their lifestyle. So I digress. One phone I really, really, really want, like, I didn't want to get the light phone. Spoiler alert, I ended up getting the light phone. I didn't want to get the light phone. It did not seem like it was what I wanted. I would love to be able to send and receive pictures with friends. That's like one thing that I really compromised on. I'd love it to be like, it's so small, which is great. It's the size of a credit card, but I would love it to be a little bit bigger so like my thumbs could just have a little bit of an easier time typing. But anyway, like I've had the light phone for a day. So if you guys want to hear more about my experience with that, I can make videos about that, sure. But there's plenty of those, you know, on the internet already. But one of the other phones I was looking at, which I'm pretty sure I just saw someone walking down the street with, which I should have asked her what was up, because it was a Unihertz Jelly phone. One, it's fucking cute. Two, it's small. Okay. Part of the thing that I'm like trying to do with like these phones is like, it's the size that a phone should be, and phones shouldn't be big. I'm sorry. Like, for me, like I want a little bit of a smaller device so that like it's less easy to use, because if it's super easy to use, I'm going to spend so much more time on it, and then big tech companies are going to get more of my data. But yeah, it's just, aside from big tech, I'm not going to get into it. Aside from big tech, it would be nice to have a phone that I kind of get sick of. You know what I mean? I just kind of like throw it on the couch and be like, ugh, I just don't want to be on that. It's like tiny little thing. It's like so hard to use. Like there's a beauty in that, I think. There's like a subconscious unrooting of phone addiction in there somewhere. Anyways, and what was nice about this phone, it was like nicely sized. It was really cute aesthetically. You could also pull up a digital keyboard so you wouldn't be stuck with a T9 keyboard, which, I mean, I can only imagine are as awful today as they were back then. But basically, it's like a Chinese manufacturer that makes it. So I don't really know like what the privacy is on that. Not that here in America we have any privacy on our tech. But then on top of that, it's like not a phone that's whitelisted on major carriers like AT&T. So like I'd have to switch carriers, which I could do. But even then, like if phones aren't whitelisted for major carriers, you can get like really spotty service and constantly be trying to like maintain phone service, which is like, again, kind of dangerous and just kind of weird. And I'd rather just have an option that's a little bit easier to implement in my life that, again, isn't the highest of high techs, isn't the lowest of low techs. So I ended up not getting the Jelly phone, but I'm still considering it. But anyways, this is kind of it, right? This is the vibe. I'm just sort of sharing these thoughts because I think it's important to talk about. And I think it's important that we are all aware of consumers, like that we deserve to have choices in this like free market we got, or whatever the hell they call it. I don't know. I'm not a fucking social studies teacher or econ or whatever the fuck. Like I said, I'm not smart. I'm just here trying to buy a phone. Surprisingly difficult. I hope it was interesting to listen to. Share your thoughts down below because I really like talking to people about this. I hope it's encouraged people to think differently about how they engage with technology in their life. As always, I promote just experimenting with that, like experimenting with having social media, maybe take a week or a month off and just seeing like what the vibe is. Like I remember TikTok like years ago, I deleted TikTok for a week as a joke and I never re-downloaded it. And I didn't even think I had a TikTok problem. I was like, what would happen if I just deleted this for a week? And I never re-downloaded it. So anyway, I just think it's really cool, to experiment with that. And so that everyone can feel very confident on how they consume, and not only confident, but aware. And I think that we kind of live in an unaware consumption culture. So that's that on that. If you like the video, click the like button. Like I said, leave a comment, consider subscribing, I guess. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day.